All right. Well, welcome everybody. Today we have the workshop portion of our week with Debra Marquart. It's a wonderful thing to have her here virtually, even better in person, but what can you do? We're really thrilled. We had a reading on Thursday night. You can see the video on our YouTube channel. This will also be on our YouTube channel. And this is brought to us by, of course, the Nebraska Writers Collective, with help from Humanities Nebraska, who is absolutely wonderful. They're a nonprofit. They support the humanities statewide, and just both personally and as part of the NWC and as an audience in so many ways, I kind of love them. So Humanities Nebraska, support them, love them, all that. So with that though, let's talk a little bit about Debra. She is a fantastic experienced teacher. She is the poet laureate of Iowa, even though she mostly writes about North Dakota, where she is from. But you know, love all the states. She teaches at Iowa State, and also in the MFA program at Stone Coast in Maine. She has coming out this year a book of poetry and a book of essays. She's just, I mean, that's why we're here to learn from her. So let me turn it over.
All right. Thank you so much, Matt. And thank you, Gina. I really appreciate being part of this. You're so lucky in Nebraska that you have this sort of thriving arts culture. I'm envious. I wish I could get organized enough to do what Matt is doing. So what I have today is a series of kind of generative exercises. I don't know about you, but I'm always looking for opportunities to try to generate new material. And for me, generating is sometimes the more difficult and painful part of writing. I'll go grab my notebook and show it to you, just show you how exactly messy it can get and ugly. So sometimes it's easier to generate when you're with other people and, you know, to generate from a prompt. So I've got a series of sort of generative exercises. We'll see how many we get to. And then what I want to do is just give you my PowerPoint at the end so that you can have the ones that we didn't get to. And I've also got some recommendations and things like that. So maybe what I could do is, can I share my screen, Matt? Does it seem like I'm able to? See if I can share my screen. Just get started here. All right. So kind of the way I'm imagining we'll do this today is, you know, we'll look at maybe look at a poem and just talk about it briefly. And I've chosen these poems because they're sort of intros to the exercises that I want to do. And then I'll give you a prompt and then give you maybe like 5 minutes to just free write. And then we'll have some time for sharing if you feel like it. I'm not going to I don't want to put anyone under any pressure to share. So you should free write with that understanding that you do not have to share anything that you're working on here. So one of the things I always talk about is, you know, this mysterious poem by William Carlos Williams, The Red Wheelbarrow. So much depends upon a red wheelbarrow glazed with rainwater beside the white chickens. I was once on a panel of literary critics and we talked for an hour and a half about this poem, trying to understand what it means. To me, what it means is when you're free writing, use, you know, vivid sensory detail. If you just look at this poem, the red wheelbarrow glazed with rainwater, the white chickens, they're all very vivid, you know, sensory details. And I think that is what William Carlos Williams was getting to when he said so much depends upon, that this is really how we attach ourselves to memories. This is how we communicate with each other. This is how we write as writers. This is how we sort of track our way into memories so that we can write about them. So everything that we do today as we're free writing, I just want you to really try to work in concrete, specific details And then the William Prowse Williams also said, no ideas but in things. So he was a big sensory detail kind of writer. And I find for free writing, that's the best policy, to just sort of try to put down sensory details. And if I get stuck, I'll just say to myself, okay, what did it sound like? What did it look like? What did it smell like? What was its tactile impression? What was its texture? And then that usually gets me going. So this first little exercise is called The Things We Carry. It's a little nod to Tim O'Brien, his wonderful essay about Vietnam called The Things We Carried, but we're not going to look at that. If you don't know that essay, I highly recommend it. It's the title essay for a book, but it's a really powerful essay about the things that all these soldiers in Vietnam were carrying, small and large. This is a generative exercise, and I actually chose a poem of mine to get us started on this. And this is a poem that I published in my second collection of poems called My Father's Wallet. And it was a memory I had of after my father died, and I went home to see my mom, and she had cleaned out his closet and done all the things that the grief manuals tell you to do. But she had kept this one thing, and it was his wallet. And she pulled it out of the cupboard, and it still had that curve from writing in his pocket, in his jean pocket, because he sat on it all the time. And she just said, I just don't think this is fair that, he couldn't take this with him when he went. She was just so upset about it. So I wrote this poem out of that image and what we found in his wallet. My father's wallet. Small curve of leather that rode on his backside in the pickup to auctions every Tuesday, that stretched and marked the right pocket of his Levi's, that patted the wood chairs of the cafe where he gossiped with other farmers about grain yields, corn futures, that rests now in the cupboard above the sewing machine like an upturned turtle shell, abandoned among spools of thread, jars of buttons, where mother put it after she cleared away his 15 trim suits, his 30 shirts, his pajamas and robe, his neat row of shoes. His pickup sits undriven in the left bay of the garage. Only the wallet remains packed as he left it, with plastic cards, photo IDs, gold membership numbers, the unspent $65 and the unused lines of credit we all hope will someday save us. At the White Knights Casino, we plug the slots for him, for the big lotto payoff, waiting for his always earthly luck to rub off on us. But everything comes up lemons, oranges, diamonds, flags, and rubies in the wrong combinations. The mixed bag of fruits and wild cards that never fell in place the way we'd always hoped or expected. So, we can talk briefly. Is there anything in this poem, you've just seen it for the first time, in terms of sensory detail? Are there any particular sensory details that really kind of draw your attention, or that give you information that's kind of interesting or important?
Debra, I really love the, like you could just say that you don't win at slots, but like to say which pictures aren't matching up, with the lemons. Also that play on everything comes up lemons, oranges, diamonds, flags. I just really like that.
Thank you, Holly. Yeah, and that was just kind of part of the experience of exploring what was in his wallet, because when we looked in his wallet, we really did find, his credit cards and unused lines of credit and the $65, everybody's got a little cash in their wallet, and just for, to rainy day to save them from whatever terrible thing might come their way. But we also found, I don't know if you all go to the casinos at all, but when you go to the casino, you get a little card and you plug it in the machine and you accumulate credits. And so we found that White Knights Casino, it's on Standing Rock, and we were like, we've got to go and spend these last credits for him, It was our big mission, So, none of that's in the poem. I just go straight to, at the White Knights Casino, we plug the slots for him for the big lotto payoff. he always was really lucky, and we were hoping that we would be as lucky, but we didn't win anything. So that's part of, I think, what's poignant about the poem, hopefully, is that, you know, that what does a life come to? And are there any other details that you see in the poem that especially interest you or speak to you?
Yeah, I really like the line, his pickup sits undriven in the left bay of the garage. That sense of stillness, like we think about the living, doing the very things like just driving or doing the daily things, and you I guess that sense of taking for granted the fact that they were moving about, you know, and then coming back to you, you know, and
Yeah.
not to be absent, but to have the car there in the garage. So that was just kind of poked the heart there. So I like that.
Thank you. Is it Javon? Is that how you pronounce your name?
Jeevan, like Steven, but Jeevan.
Yeah. So if you want to buy that pickup, it's still sitting there. My mom's trying to sell it right now, so it's anyway. So yeah, that, you know, that thing, all the things that no longer are of use when we lose someone, their whole life, you know, everything that they owned that was important to them, suits and shoes and pajamas and robes, and so, you know, it is a kind of inventory, I guess, you know, of so does anyone else want to say anything before we move on about the poem?
I like how it goes from plastic cards and photo IDs, which are very generic, but photo IDs gets my attention a little bit because there's more than just the driver's license, and then gold membership numbers just like jumps out at me as a detail after those two that I really like.
Oh, thanks, Matt. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about the way we inure ourselves to shock and risk and catastrophe by our lines of credit, and, you know, our gold membership cards, and our, you know, extra cash we're carrying around. And I was just thinking about that, this sort of deconstructed life that was now like an upturned turtle shell just sitting in my mother's, you know, sewing cupboard with all the buttons. And, you know, my mother has, you know, this cupboard with little Gerber baby jars of buttons in all the different colors. She's sort of, you know, sort of organized them, which it is a poem in and of itself, I think. I haven't written yet. So anyway, let's go on to the exercise. Are you all ready to do a little free writing? Okay. So if I can get this to go. Okay. So this is my free write instructions for you. What I would like you to do, now this might involve you having to get up and go in search of something, but I would like you to get out your wallet or your purse, or go to your junk drawer in your house or in your office. And I want you to, I'm going to give you about 5 to 7 minutes to do this. I want you to look at what you have in your wallet or your purse or in your junk drawer. And I want you to choose 2 or 3 things that you're carrying or holding in these places that seem a little bit like, maybe I don't need to carry these anymore. Like, why is this in my wallet exactly? And then I'm going to, once should I let you go do that? And then I'll give you the other instructions. You want to go do that and then come back in like a minute? Okay, go ahead and, yeah, where is my wallet? I mean, I haven't left home for days, so. Okay, wow, thank you all for playing along. This is so fun. Okay, so in my wallet, I'm gonna just show you what I got. This Jiffy Lube, it's like a coupon, but it's not valid anymore. Why the hell am I carrying it? Last time I tried to use it, they're like, that's no longer valid. Okay, this is something that's interesting. My friend Barbara Crow, who's a poet, just died in February. And this is the card where she was in elder care. I was carrying it around in my wallet. I just realized, well, I don't really need that anymore. This is a photograph of my partner Tom when he was a little boy. I always carry it around in my wallet so I don't get mad at him, because I'll remember how sweet he was look how sweet he was when he was a little boy. So anyway, you go ahead and take a minute and look through your wallets and see what you've got in there. Okay, is everybody ready for the instructions, the free writing instructions? Okay, what I'd like you to do is just choose, now if you've identified 2 or 3 things that are kind of odd in there, maybe unnecessary, maybe outdated, expired, just extra weight that you don't really need to be carrying around, choose one item and write about it. Can you, first of all, start by describing it? Explain why you're keeping it. What significance does it hold for you? And what would it take for you to let it go or throw it away? These are just starting questions, but you might go further than that. And what I'd like you to do is just follow your interest. Whatever words come up, don't worry about making sense. Okay, so I will give you about 5 minutes and then I'll check back in with you. Just a couple more minutes. Okay, maybe just finish up that last thought or detail. Okay, does anyone want to say anything about what you found or what you, any insights that you may have gleaned from your things that you're carrying?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say there's a lot of stuff. Business cards, coffee, punch card for the banh mi sandwich shop in Bellevue. I mean, all these things I haven't used since before the pandemic, but then the one that I'm writing most about is this card that got me into Disneyland an hour early for the magic morning thing. But I remember I was there with just my youngest daughter, and she was 10, and all she wanted to do was ride the Splash Mountain, the early morning when it's chilliest, wanting to ride the rides that get you wet. So
You still have it in your wallet?
it's still in my wallet. Yeah.
How old is your daughter now?
She's 13, so she was 10 at the time. So.
That's great. So getting in an hour early wasn't such a great advantage if she wanted to ride all the rides that made you cold and wet.
It wasn't as great for me, but it was still a lot of fun, so I'll take it.
Well, I did end up writing about this sweet little photograph. Just thinking about what he was like when he was a little boy and how he's changed now. So it's really interesting. I don't really ever write about him. Tend to keep him out of my writing. So let's see. Anybody else? What did you find in your wallet? You don't have to share the writing at all, but if you just want to show us what you found or anything that you wrote, go ahead.
I just found this in my drawer. Hope that still counts. You mentioned junk drawer. Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't every house have a junk drawer?
I served in the Peace Corps, and then after 2 years, I stayed a third year, and I was in Cambodia. And I stayed in this major tourist town, and I always went to this little restaurant by this lady. Sorry, I have the background because I teach.
It's okay. So yeah, because now it's starting to come in. What is it? You can just.
There we go. It's just a little card that says TV's Place, Friends of TV's Privilege Club. Card holder as a member, because I went there so often that she gave me a little card and gave me like a discount for my fish courier. Yeah, it was so nice to go from warm, sunny weather in the tropics to Nebraska. Like, I have to get this out once in a while.
Yeah, that's great. Wow, what an amazing memory. Hopefully you'll be able to go there again someday.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have a thing that they want to share or talk about? Okay, no pressure. Todd, you want to go ahead?
Hi, yeah, I've got this from my junk drawer, this United Airlines branded divot fixer and ball marker. Yeah, dude, it must have been in some goodie bag years ago. And I actually think there is kind of a funky, deep sadness in why I keep it, because 6 years ago I quit drinking, but before then I would occasionally get invited to go out golfing with people who would drink a lot and maybe have the odd left-handed cigarette on the back nine. And now nobody invites me to play golf. So I think, I'm holding on to it in the hopes that I'll get that call, but I'm not going to get that call. So I'm going to throw it away. So thank you very much, Deborah. I appreciate this letting go.
This is great. Well, the really great thing about writing about something, became my philosophy in life. I started putting all my trouble on the page and try to keep it out of my life and put it on the page. And my life has gotten kind of like a lot better since then. And you can do the same thing with all those things that are cumbersome and heavy. And Gina says we should do a poets who putt outing.
I cannot help with the golfing, but I can help with the putt.
Well, this is great. Are you ready to move on and try? Oh, I just want to show you my notebook. So I did a little bit of writing on this photograph, but this is kind of the way my notebook looks. Like, this is something I just wrote a couple days ago when I was talking to my mom, and she's 92 and she got her full vaccination now, and they had a kind of a fish fry in Napoleon, and she was like, it was like old times. And so I just, for some reason, that like old times just like lit up for me. And I started a poem, and I'm actually pretty excited about it. It started on the page like this. And then I was like, oh, this is too much, it's too complicated. Then I open a computer file and then I start typing. And anyway, that's kind of how it works for me. So, we can talk about kind of how it works for you in the process of writing. But let me go ahead and go to the next one. Now, the next one is also a kind of a where I'm from. And, maybe what I'll do is I'll just tell you, we'll just look at this one poem, and then I'll just invite you to write a where I'm from. Because I think maybe last time I did a workshop for Nebraska, I might have done a where I'm from exercise. So this might be something you can take home as a kind of homework, and then we'll go on to one of the other ones. One of my favorite poems is this poem by George Ella Lyon, and it's called Where I'm From. And it's just amazing. I'm from clothespins, from Clorox and carbon tetrachloride. I'm from the dirt under the back porch, black glistening, it tasted like beets. I'm from the forsythia bush, the Dutch elm, whose long gone limbs I remember as if they were my own. For me, this poem is always very suggestive. We won't look at this one. We'll look at this other one that's after this. But I hope that if you read this poem, this is your homework, it will inspire you to think about where you're from and what are the, 10 to 15 items, objects, memories that are so tactily tied to your memory of home and where you're from. But we'll look at this Pokeberry's poem instead by Ruth Stone as a kind of Where I'm From poem. I read my poem the other night about gathering choke cherries, and as a childhood memory, and this pokeberries poem is really what inspired it. Ruth Stone, Pokeberries. I started out in the Virginia mountains with my grandma's pansy bed and my Aunt Maud's dandelion wine. We lived on greens and back fat and biscuits. My Aunt Maud scrubbed right through the linoleum. My daddy was a northerner who played drums and chewed tobacco and gambled. He married my mama on the rebound. Who would want an ignorant hill girl with red hair? They took a Pullman up to Indianapolis and somebody stole my daddy's wallet. My whole life has been stained with pokeberries. No man seemed right for me. I was awkward until I found a good wood-burning stove. There is no use asking what it means. With my first piece of ready cash, I bought my own place in Vermont. Kerosene lamps, dirt road. I'm sticking here like a porcupine up a tree, like the one our neighbors shot. Its bones and skin hung there for 3 years in the orchard. No amount of knowledge can shake my grandma out of me, or my Aunt Maud, or my mama, who didn't just bite an apple with her big white teeth. She split it in two. Oh my goodness, what a poem. Are there any details in this poem that, I always think of, if you're, have you ever seen an ant carrying a big crumb of food that's like almost bigger than their body weight? This is what details do in poems. They bring all kinds of information into the poem. What are some details in this poem that really stick out to you?
For me, that line, no amount of knowledge can shake my grandma out of me, really resonates. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But sticking like a porcupine up a tree was also excellent.
Yeah, I bought a place in Vermont when I got some ready cash, and now I'm going to stick to this place like a porcupine up a tree. I mean, she really this is almost like an entire autobiography, isn't it? She tells about her parents, the place where she grew up in Virginia, in the place where she ended up in Vermont. What else? What other details really speak to you in this poem? The one that always makes me laugh is, I was awkward until I found a good wood-burning stove.
I was just about to say that.
I like that.
What is it? Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Siobhan.
No, I was just agreeing with Matt that that line for some reason made me laugh. I don't know. I was awkward until I found a good word.
But also
Yeah,
the line
maybe
after
there's-
it, like how she's just acknowledging that it doesn't really make sense to us. She's like, nah, me either. Like, I just love that.
Yeah, there's no use asking what it means. This is the way memory works. Memory is an odd collection of odd fitting things, very random things. They're little, it's a little like that junk drawer, things that you just can't bear to throw away are in there. And that's what you can mine for poems. What else? Is there any other detail in this poem that especially speaks to you?
I love that Aunt Maud scrubbing right through the linoleum. It speaks to the habit of cleaning, especially probably of her incredible persnicketyness about that, and obsession and time and ritual. It's got a lot of resonance, and it just takes that everyday thing we kind of ignore, a linoleum floor. There's not much more kind of everyday and banal than that. Not much we'd rather not do than scrub it. But man, she obviously scrubbed it a few thousand times. So I just think that's gold.
Look at the economy of that. You you gleaned so much from that one little detail. And it reminds me of when the Kirby man came and showed my grandma, demonstrated the Kirby vacuum cleaner to my grandmother, and he did a shampoo, but he just shampooed like this one little circle in the middle of her carpet. And so then she had to buy the Kirby because she had to get the rest of her carpet clean as that one little circle. Talk about devious salesmanship. But you know, these details are in our lives. They're weird curiosities. And these are the things that we try to capture for poems or stories. Is there any other detail here you want to talk about? Okay, well, you know what? Let's go ahead and do this exercise because I'm kind of curious. I'm kind of curious about all of you. So this is called Where I'm From. You ready? Okay, I'm going to give you about a minute to do step 1, and then there's a step 2, and then there's a step 3, and I'll give you 5 minutes for the step 3. So step 1, make a quick list of 5 things that are important about you, things that people will learn about you when they meet you, when you meet them. Places, people, things, events, experiences, where you're from, important events, milestones, things you love, things you own. Make a quick list of 5 things. Okay, step 2. Make a quick list of 5 things that are important to you, but that you rarely share with people you meet. Places, people, things, events, experiences. These are important experiences, secrets, things you love, regrets, things you've lost. Okay, here is the free write exercise. I want you to choose the 3 things that light up the most for you from these 2 lists that you've put together. And then just start putting down sensory details related to the things, sight, smell, taste, touch, sound, or background details, what, who, what, when, where. Add in the why. And you can also speculate, what will these things mean to you in the future? I'll give you 5 minutes to do that. Okay, just another minute or so, just kind of finish up the last little bit that you have there. Okay. It's so much fun to watch the pens moving. Oh my goodness. So does anyone wanna talk a little bit about what you wrote about? You don't have to read it, but what are some things that ended up on your lists? You maybe don't want to share what's on the second part of the list because that was the secret stuff, but Holly?
Yeah, I can share what I wrote. Yeah, I live in Nebraska, but I was raised in the Seattle suburbs. So people here luckily don't know my past, but I'll share a little bit. My father was a state representative for one term. In 1994, he won by 11 points. That campaign win we celebrated in a hotel room with partitions slid open, balloons blue and silver everywhere we stepped, and people kept congratulating 11-year-old me, who was up past her bedtime, like it was me who had won. Maybe it's because my picture had been in brochures, I had been spotted in Dad's campaign t-shirt at the Western Washington Fair while other kids ate sticky cotton candy. My back emblazoned with the only grant government needs. Something I didn't understand yet, but everyone assured me was not only correct, but clever. GOP were Dad's initials, how fitting. People kept bringing us tchotchkes of elephants. That's all I have so far.
Wow. Holly, that's really a complex piece. I mean, my goodness. And I thought it was interesting that the votes, it was 11 votes, and the narrator is 11 years old. And the idea of the 11-year-old being turned into a sort of campaign artifact, you know, t-shirts on her body, and campaign slogans that are designed specifically to, was it the only grant you'll ever need? Was that what it was? Or
It's the only grant government needs. Yeah, he thought it was so clever. My dad and I love to argue politics now, but back then.
Yeah, that, and isn't that a timely sort of subject, this, you know, the way that politics are dividing families now because of the spectrum of political beliefs. Certainly the case in my own family too. That's really a powerful piece of writing. And she just did that like in 3 minutes. Ugh. Does anyone else want to talk about, or you can read, but I want to put anyone under any pressure. But if you want to talk about your list. I ended up writing about my my neighbor across the street. He was so friendly with me, and then the postman accidentally delivered my credit card statement to his place, my US bank credit card statement, and he accidentally opened it and he saw my credit card balance. And like our relationship has cooled since then. It's like, it's really weird. So it's just like this strange thing that, you know, I just moved into the neighborhood. I was introducing myself to people, and then suddenly he felt he knew something about me, you know, before that I hadn't chosen to reveal or whatever. Okay, anybody else wanna give everybody a chance? Yeah, deep waters. Okay, should we go on to the next one? Are you ready? Or are you still contemplating the last one? Would you, Jivan, you want to do something?
I don't feel comfortable sharing, but I've been trying to write a poem. I'm adopted from India, and I have this nesting doll that I've had ever since I was little. It's weird how you get so protective of certain things. I went home during the pandemic and taught online, so I could be home for Thanksgiving, and I knew my mom would. Sometimes my mom and I quibble over things that I should keep, even though she doesn't care because it's my stuff. But I found the nesting doll. I thought, I'm going to put this in my pocket just so we don't have an argument. Not because she wouldn't let me keep it, but because we're just, you know, in the moment, try to pack things in boxes. And I thought, no, I'm just going to take it and stick it in my pocket. It's an Indian nesting doll. I have it. So this idea of like not having my biological family in my life, but having almost this icon of me being like missing from them, you know, and yet how do I reconcile that with the fact that I have a beautiful family? I have a good family. So it's just like, but it's been really hard to write about it. So it's good to at least be in the space and feel like I can, like, you know, process that at least.
So many things there, you know, the idea of coming home during the pandemic to your space in your parental home being packed up as if you're being sort of, you know, prepared to leave when you've just returned to the nest during the pandemic in a time of crisis. So that's a strange tension right there, packing up all your stuff in the middle of a time of return. And the idea of nesting in general, that's really powerful. I hadn't realized that there were Indian nesting dolls, because I know them as, you know, Russian nesting dolls, but I'd never seen any from India before.
Yeah, actually I have one right next to it. My friend went to Russia and she brought me back one. But yeah, I guess that's a struggle right now. So it's just, Holly, I really liked your poem because how you package that memory. Like there's something about writing about family that's even more difficult, at least for me. It's just like,
yeah,
because it almost sounds too sentimental, but then it's so important too. You know?
It is so important. That's really powerful. Wow, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I wanted to just I'll try to do this one quickly because I have kind of a lot of stuff. And again, I'm going to give you this PowerPoint at the end, and it's got all this content. So I don't know if you all have tried any ekphrastic writing at all, but I wanted to introduce the idea to you. I'm sure you probably know what ekphrastic writing is, but just in general, this is from Poetry Foundation. Ekphrasis means description in Greek, and this tradition of ekphrastic writing is a vivid description of a scene, or more commonly a work of art, and through the imaginative act of narrating and reflecting on the action of a painting or sculpture, the poet may amplify and expand its meaning. They pointed out Keats' poem Ode to a Grecian Urn as a good example of ekphrastic writing. It speculates on the identity of the lovers who appear to dance and play music, simultaneously frozen in time and in perpetual motion. And I found this little graphic of Keats meditating on the Grecian urn. Anyway, I have an example of an ekphrastic poem I have a whole bunch of some anthologies, and I have a screen in a few minutes I'll show you so that you can find these anthologies and books if you're interested in learning more about ekphrastic writing. But I won't show you the painting yet, but I just want to read this Jane Flanders, this Jane Flanders poem about Van Gogh's bed. Is orange like Cinderella's coach, like the sun when he looked it straight in the eye. Is narrow, he slept alone, tossing between two pillows, while it carried him bumpily to the ball. Is clumsy but friendly. A peasant built the frame. An old wife beat the mattress till it rose like meringue. Is empty. Morning light pours in like wine, melody, fragrance, the memory of happiness. So hopefully an ekphrastic poem can live without the work of art. But here is the actual painting that the poem, I just want to give you a second to look at it. So I could just look at that painting forever, probably. I need to stop. But I was interested in talking with you, all of you, about this because I'm working on an ekphrastic project right now. I don't know if you've ever seen very much Vermeer, but if you really notice it, like the first time I noticed it, can you all see this painting? Can you see it? It's in Ireland in the museum, in National Museum in Ireland. And I got in front of it, I couldn't move. I just was like, I can't look away. You see a woman is writing a letter and her servant girl is standing behind her with this, she's sort of looking out the window. It's really hard to know what she's thinking. It looks like she's maybe going to take this letter and run with it, you know, on some errand, like possibly some surreptitious, like delivering a letter to a lover or something. I started looking at Vermeer and saw there's all these women writing letters or reading letters in Vermeer. So I'm working on an ekphrastic project where I'm trying to write the letters that are in the painting that we don't get to read, but we see them reading the letter. So I'm trying to do this ekphrastic project. So it's, for me, it's just been so much fun. And so I wanted to share this with you as fodder for a project or something to write about. And so what I thought we could do a quick little ekphrastic exercise here. And I have this, postcard. It's a Tupperware postcard. And so what I want to do, I'm going to give, this is going to be very, very quick, okay? But this is just an intriguing cultural artifact, this postcard. So what I want you to do is focus on one person or thing in the photo and meditate for a minute on the inner perspective of that person or thing, and then write one quick page or paragraph on these inner perceptions. Try to work in specific descriptions and concrete details. So, you know, choose one of these figures or choose an object in the postcard. I'll give you like just a couple minutes to do this. Okay, just another minute or so, kind of finish up that thought. Okay, what did you all see in this postcard? Visually, it's a pretty rich field of data. And I just wanted to give you these, sort of put this idea in your heads, because I think writing ekphrastically can help you kind of get into territories of material that maybe you hadn't thought about, or maybe that are a little bit harder to access through your own as poets, we so often write autobiographically. But I think, ekphrastic writing can get you into historical subjects, get you into cultural things. So what did you observe about, was the most interesting thing to you in this little postcard here?
I think just their face expressions of, like, we're in just something as simple as Tupperware, but it brings women together. And I think about the time period of, significance of like social circles. Just a feeling of inclusion.
Yeah, and there really is a kind of definite class and race statement being made here with this postcard. But speaking from my own experience, I'm always a lady who gets dragged to these things and looks a little bit like maybe this woman right here. like why am I, can you see my cursor? Like, why am I here? Why did I agree? This woman right here, she's kind of a gal. She's like, really, like, look how comfortable she is. This is probably her friend that she dragged to this thing, so you can tell sort of who was invited and who was dragged. What else? Were there any particular figures that interested you, or objects in this postcard that really interested you?
Debra, I love how you said this is like a class thing, because my mom would get dragged to longer burger baskets, Tupperware. Like, you could, like, time passed through the trends of these home parties, and she was the person that didn't have the money to buy the things but would have to buy something out of obligation.
Yeah.
And so I wrote about the woman next to the one that looks pissed off, that's wearing this dress, and I wrote that she had, like, bought a dress just for this party because she wanted to fit in. Because look at how excited all these women look. It's just Tupperware. They can't actually all be excited. Like, some of them are faking it. So anyway,
look at these dimples on these women. I mean, they're thrilled by this little, I don't know, what is it? It looks like it's a colander maybe, or something.
Yeah, you're right. There is somebody that's not smiling. I forgot that.
Which one did you write about?
Me or Jeevan?
Oh, either. So, Holly, you wrote about her, right?
Yes.
Okay.
She bought that dress just for this Tupperware party because she's a farm girl and she has dirt under her fingernails, but, like, she's trying to pretend she's a society lady.
Yeah, exactly. Jeevan, which one interested you or anything?
Oh, I was fixated on the Tupperware because I like to eat and drink tea.
Look at this Tupperware. My goodness, it's a statement, isn't it, about life in the 50s? You know, the advent of
Yeah.
refrigerators, home refrigerators, and ice cube trays. My God. What in particular about the Tupperware interested you?
For some reason, the right across from the ice cube, the one right, I don't know, it kind of reminded me of my mom's, not Tupperware, but she used to like always put Indian tea in it when we go on picnics.
Yeah,
Right next to, no,
right there or here? No, here?
no, right there. Oh yeah, the one next to the one with the string around it.
This
Yeah,
thing
that
right
one.
here.
Yeah.
That might be a martini shaker, a Tupperware
Oh,
version of a martini shaker. I don't know what that.
wow.
Oh, I bet it's a salad dressing maker or shaker or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, but all these pieces of Tupperware, they speak to sort of hospitality
Mhm.
and parties and, you know, things that are, you know, just really coming into the middle class, I would say, sort of after World War II and sort of the post-World War II prosperity. Of course, it wasn't prosperity for everyone, but you know, this group right here, it is a very kind of exclusionary group in a way. I was also always interested in this screened-in porch um, as a statement too about the way that houses changed in a particular time. Was there anything else that you focused on?
I was kind of fascinated by the woman with the dimples, the third one on the left side of the screen. Yeah, her. Because at first, you know, I look at her, it's like she's having the greatest moment of her life. But then it's like, you know, that's just kind of like, oh, I'm making fun of her or whatever. But then it's like, I wonder if when she sees this photo, is she like, oh my God? Or was she like, yes, this was amazing? I kind of wanted to write about her seeing this and going, oh God, why did they catch me like that? But so I've
Oh,
mostly got ideas, not writing so far.
what I think about her is she's actually the most modern of all these women.
Mm.
Look at her haircut. It's a kind of a pixie and you know, it's kind of a boy cut in a way. And she's the poet. I think she must be the poet in the group, you know. But she does seem pretty excited um, about the presentation. Well, you know, I mean, it's just fascinating. What I called it a data-rich field, you know, as that's what paintings are, and it's just so much fun to look at them this way and think about writing about them, and you know, you get to sort of stop time and go into them more deeply. And so I wanted to offer you this for further study. These are three anthologies. These first three, Lines of Vision, Sunlight on the River, and Writing. Oh, Writing for Art. I'm sorry. This one on the end here is also Transforming Vision. That's art from the Institute of Chicago, Art Institute, and Edward Hirsch curated those works of art and then had writers write to them. And same with Sunlight on the River and Lines of Vision. They're writers writing about works of art. But then this particular book here by Stephen Cheek, Writing for Art, is more of a theoretical text about ekphrastic writing. So I just recommend these texts to you for further study if you're interested in embarking on this kind of writing at all. Okay, we're of course running out of time. I wish we had oodles of time. I wanted to give you, I knew we would kind of be angling down, you know, to the last 15 minutes. And I've been really interested in collecting poems that I believe develop empathy and train us to see deeper. And so I have, I think, 4 of them here. Again, this is for you for further study, but we just might look at a couple of them quickly, and then I'm going to give you some homework. Basically, aren't you glad you came on a nice sunny Saturday afternoon? You have to leave with homework. So this is a generative exercise in seeing deeper. I deliberately chose kind of short poems, but interestingly, so many of them that do this for me are very short. This one is by Ross Gay. I'll just read it and then we can talk about it briefly. A small, needful fact is that Eric Garner worked for some time for the Parks and Rec Horticulture Department, which means perhaps that with his very large hands, perhaps in all likelihood, he put gently into the earth some plants which most likely, some of them in all likelihood, continue to grow, continue to do what such plants do, like house and feed small and necessary creatures, like being pleasant to touch and smell, like converting sunlight into food, like making it easier for us to breathe. Let's give you a second to read over that poem. What do you see Gay doing in this poem? I think it's several really fascinating strategies. It's very simple on the surface. What's he doing in this poem?
I really love how tentative he starts, that it's not like a political declaration, that it's he perhaps, in all likelihood, most likely, like it's such a tentative voice that, stream that he stops doing that halfway through, and then it's all the mood is set and it goes more definitively. I really love that.
Yeah, all that speculative language and as you say, sort of, he's being tentative. He's suggesting. He's not, asserting. He's just trying to plant the idea in the reader's mind that there's a connection. Of course, we know who Eric Garner was. He died at the hands of police, and he was reported to have said, "I can't breathe," and the police obviously didn't listen to him. And it's poignant and painful because this is a story that keeps occurring in our country. And I think what Gay is kind of doing is trying to give other representations of Eric Garner, of what he did and what he accomplished and what he meant, what he did by his works, by the work of his hands.
It reminded me of, when you first showed the William Carlos Williams poem, So Much Depends. So I think so much depends, just even a life, not just depending on a life, but knowing what it can do and bring. I think it's deeply. I feel like, I kind of agree with Matt, how as the poem goes, we're just kind of taken even further into that sensual, that deep need.
Yeah. He introduces this small detail from Eric Garner's life, that he worked in a horticultural department for Parks and Rec. And that opens him up to sort of speculate about what he did with his large hands. And that, they were likely gentle hands that put plants into the ground. So, this is a work of incredible imagination where Gay speculates sort of out one layer after another layer, and he kind of gives himself permission by saying, in all likelihood, possibly, and that allows him to imagine his way, but it also allows us as readers to imagine our way to these thoughts. And what's really crazy about it is the way he gets to the ending. making it easier for us to breathe.
Yeah, definitely think about our ecological crisis too. And then just the small ordinary lives that make such a difference. Detaching from power and just doing the small things that we know bring
Yeah.
community together.
I don't know if you've read very much of Ross Gay's work, but I just highly recommend his poetry. And I just taught his essay collection, his essays on joy, and they're they're small, but they're like this. They're just jewel-like, and they just go, they just sort of peel the onion one layer after another layer after another. It's really kind of amazing. Maybe look at this next one too. I think we have time. This was a poem that was in the New Yorker a few years ago by Barry Gifford. I'll read it again and just give you a little bit of time because, you're just seeing these. This one's a little more complicated. When I was a little kid in Chicago, Jimmy Yancey, the great blues and boogie-woogie piano player, worked as a groundskeeper at Comiskey Park, where the White Sox played. Years later, I listened to his records and did the best I could to imitate his left hand, not knowing he'd played baseball for the Chicago All-Americans in the Negro Leagues, throwing down his best curves and sliders on both the black and white keys, remembering how he'd appeared as a tap dancer and pianist in Europe and at Carnegie Hall, then kept his day job working at Comiskey for 25 years until he died in 1951, sweeping the infield. Just be quiet for a second and let you read that over. I call this technique peeling the onion. I just wonder if you see, sort of the onion layers in this poem. How do you read this poem?
Deborah, I like that you picked these two poems next to each other because I feel like in the last poem, we needed the context of who Eric Gardner was to understand the poem. And here the context is the heart of the poem. The context of who this person was is what the poem is. And I really like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, it is really kind of like, layers and layers of knowledge about who Jimmy Yancey was. And what I admire about this poem, the way Gifford, he basically gives us those layers. And I always think that this line here, not knowing, is a really important pivot in the poem, because he talks about how when he was a kid, there was this guy, Jimmy Yancey, and he was a groundskeeper at Comiskey Park, so it's sort of like we see people every day in our lives that are serving a role, working behind a counter at a store, or, greeting us at a Walmart, or, working as a janitor. And, we don't know what their lives were. We don't know what they accomplished, what they were proud of, what they were not proud of. And so what Gifford does here is he just basically unfurls this complicated figure, Jimmy Yancey, who was accomplished in not only music. He was a he was a great blues and boogie woogie piano player, and he ended his life working at Comiskey Park, where the White Sox played. And it says years later, I listened to his records, and the narrator even tried to imitate Jimmy Yancey's, musical moves. He emulated him, but he didn't even know when he was learning his musical moves that Jimmy Yancey had this deeper history of having played baseball in the Chicago All-Americans in the Negro Leagues. And this part of the poem fascinates me, throwing down his best curves and sliders on both the black and white keys. So right there is where he kind of collides the layers of the worlds that were the worlds of Jimmy Yancey. And then the poem ends so quietly. Look at he traveled in Europe. He played at Carnegie Hall. I mean, my goodness, this incredible story. And then he dies in 1951, sweeping the infield, working 25 years at Comiskey Park. It's just how does anybody write a poem like this? My God, it's amazing. So I just offer it to you as in my mind, a kind of high water mark. And so I know we're almost out of time. I also included this Ted Kooser poem that I think is just, at the cancer clinic, it does a similar thing. And I offer these to you as inspiration. This is Claudia Rankin's little prose piece from Citizen, The Man at the Cash Register. It's another one of these moments. And when Citizen came out, there was a lot of talk about how she was able to capture these microaggressions. And I want you to think of, so this is your homework assignment, cultivating attention and empathy. Over the next few days, as you go from place to place and interact with people, keep an eye out for moments that draw your passing interest, but not your full attention. That's usually the sign. There's usually a little rupture of some kind. And this feeling of passing interest is usually an opportunity for empathy. Often we pass these moments up because we're intent on some place we need to be or something we need to do, but stop this time and observe, watch, ask, reply, respond, feel the situation, and then take it back and remember to record it so that you can think more and write about it. So that is my homework assignment for all of you. Oh my goodness, we're out of time. This is terrible. Okay, so what I want to do is just leave you with, I didn't have time to grab all these, so I just took a photograph and put them here. I really like these books. Writing Toward Home is a book of prompts by Georgia Hurd. This Robert Olin book, From Where You Dream, Olin Butler book. These two books, Panning for Gold and Poetry Writing, I believe they are out of print now, but you can get them in the in used book places. Word Painting, Rebecca McClanahan, Writing Without the Muse, Beth Joslow, Steve Cowd, In the Palm of Your Hand. I use this all the time as a textbook in my undergrad poetry class. And then this News of the Universe book by Robert Bly, I've been coming back to this lately. He writes about something he calls poems of a twofold consciousness. And I really love this idea. So just what I'm going to do is stop sharing so I can save this PowerPoint so I can send it all to you over the network, over the file, so you can have it. So don't go yet, okay? Stay where you are.
While you do that, just wanted to thank you, Debra, for this workshop. This was a lot of fun.
Well, thank you everyone for being willing to share and participate and just be part of this. Okay, I'm gonna go grab it right now. Sorry about that.
Yeah, thank you everyone for being here live. I know not everybody can make it at all times, but appreciate you having, because it definitely adds to the workshop, and others will be seeing it by video. And hi others.